everyone, welcome back to Oral Communication in Context. For our 8th lesson, we will be talking about communicative strategies. So for today, we will be talking about the definition of communicative strategies as well as the different strategies that we use whenever we communicate. That includes nomination, restriction, turn-taking, topic control, topic shifting, repair, and termination. People communicate every day to establish and maintain relationships, know and understand themselves, and find meaning in what they do in their daily lives. Moreover, since humans are social beings, we are always driven to learn skills of creating and sustaining meaningful conversations. Successful communication requires understanding of the relationship between words and sentences and the speech acts they represent. However, it is inevitable to encounter problems whenever we communicate. Despite communication being complex at times, there are plans, ways, or means of sharing information which are adapted to achieve a particular social, political, psychological, or linguistic purpose. Thus, strategies that language learners use to overcome communication problems in order for them to convey their intended meaning is what we refer to as communicative strategies. According to Cohen in 1990, communicative strategies must be used to start and keep the conversations going. So, communicative strategies are techniques that we use or we utilize in order for us to sustain conversation and, of course, keep the communication open and going. Let us look at the different communicative strategies that we use whenever we converse with people or with someone. First is what we call nomination. When we say nomination, you are simply proposing or suggesting a topic with the people you are talking to. So basically, you are putting something on the table. You are offering them something to talk about, something to think about, or even something to discuss amongst yourselves. It is usually used when we want to begin or open a discussion with people or with a particular person. For example, it could be a question. Why don't we talk about communication? That could be a form of nomination. Now let's move on to the next one, which is restriction. Restriction happens when the speaker or the communicators are limiting the topic or the subject in the conversation. Basically, with restriction, you are trying to keep the conversation on track. Now, this communicative strategy often happens when the person wants to focus on a certain aspect of the issue or topic being discussed because there are certain limiting conditions presented. Okay, so for example, there are certain elements of the conversation process or the communication process that limits the flow of the communication process. For example, time. Okay, when you don't have a lot of time to talk or converse with that person, of course, you try to limit and try to restrict whatever is it that you are saying. You make sure that whatever it is that is coming out of your mouth, whatever it is that you are sharing, relaying to that person is on track with your intention, is aligned with the intention or the original intention of the conversation process itself. So take for example, when a teacher is in a classroom, of course, during class, there is only limited amount of time given for a teacher to deliver the lecture. Okay, so there are certain instances wherein as much as the teacher would want to accommodate questions, would want to accommodate discussion among the students, they have to finish an activity or they have to finish a lecture. So the teacher try to restrict the conversation process or the communication process. The third communicative strategy is what we call turn-taking. Turn-taking simply refers to the process by which the communicators, the people involved in the communication process, are deciding who will take the conversational floor, who would be speaking on this particular moment or in this particular part of the communication process. Turn-taking is very essential because this is something that we practice every day without us really knowing that we are doing it. Turn-taking is a very critical part or a very critical communicative strategy because it allows appropriate opportunities for others to talk. So basically, when turn taking is present in a communication process or in a communicative situation, rather, all right, it gives opportunities for others to share, to talk, to be part of the communication process itself, and not just simply listeners, not just passive members of the communication process. Turn taking is also described as the manner in which an orderly conversation normally takes place. Okay, so whenever we talk or whenever we communicate with someone, it's not just us talking. Okay, other people, of course, would have their turns to speak or to respond. Their response to you is already a form of turn taking. Okay, so that's why it's an essential part of or it's an essential communicative strategy, rather. For example, when a speaker asks a question to the listeners, what do you think about this? And of course, it is asking for a response. Okay, so therefore, the audience or the listeners are expected to respond to that question. Therefore, that's a form of turn taking. There are different turn taking strategies that we can also use. For example, whenever you are communicating with a person, it's better if you speak first, talk about whatever it is that you want to say, talk about whatever it is that you want to relay, and then ask a question. Asking questions illicit answers from your listeners. So it is an essential strategy as well in turn taking. You can also use conjunctions. All right, conjunctions actually signify that you are not yet done talking. Therefore, the other party or the other communicator will know that it's not their turn to talk. So conjunctions are very essential as well. Conjunctions are very good markers as to when they could talk and as to when you are not yet done talking. Another strategy that we can use in order to do effective turn taking is whenever we teach or at least understand phrases for agreeing and disagreeing. So, what are just some of the typical phrases that we use when we agree? We say, yes, of course, that's it, okay? And then when we disagree, I don't think that's the case. So, phrases like that would help you identify when is it time to talk or when is it the right time to stop talking and give chance to other communicators. Phrases for asking and giving opinion are also essential in turn taking. So for example, the question that was asked a while ago, what do you think about it? That's you eliciting, trying to ask for a response, trying to ask for what do they believe in, okay? And then for giving opinion as a response, you could say that I believe for me, stuff like that could be used for turn taking. Fillers are very essential as well for turn taking strategies. Sometimes when we pause and there's really silence in that pause, it signifies or the other party believes that it's an opportunity for them to talk because it signifies that you are done talking already. So fillers, when you use them for pauses, actually makes your listener or the other communicator to think that you are not yet done talking. So it's not yet their turn to talk. So take for example, if you are conversing with your friends, usually when you are not yet done talking, you still want to continue on with your story, you use fillers such as it's just that I believe that you try to prolong the syllables at the end of your sentences just so to signify that you are not yet done talking and you are still thinking about the things that you want to say next, okay? Next, as part of effective turn taking, you have to avoid interruptions. When someone else is still talking, listen first, okay? And then find that perfect opportunity for you to butt in or for you to respond to whatever he or she is saying. As much as possible, do not interrupt a person when that person is still talking and you know that they will still be continuing on with whatever it is that they are saying. Whenever you talk, or whenever you converse with someone, it's best that you always consider fluency over accuracy. So, what do we mean by that? Fluency is your ability to use the language, okay, in order for you to express whatever it is that you are saying. Accuracy means correctness, okay? The way that you deliver, is it correct? Is it adhering to proper grammar, proper pronunciation, and so on and so forth. But in turn taking, effective turn taking actually requires you to assess it based on how fluent they were able to speak the language or use the language in order for them to convey their intended meaning. Next up, we have topic control. Topic control is basically the speaker or the communicator trying to regulate or manipulate the topic of the conversation and even how long they want the other person to talk. You are basically taking the reins of the conversation, okay? So you are controlling it, manipulating it. Now, topic control is essential because sometimes there are instances wherein we want to elicit specific information. Okay? So when we do topic control, it is because we want certain pieces of information to be relayed to us. We want to hear specific pieces of information from a conversation. Okay, so take for example, when you say, how about we talk about this one? Let's talk about something that I am more familiar with. That is actually a form of topic control. You are trying to divert the conversation into your own, okay, into your own benefit. Something that would benefit you, okay? Or something that would, of course, benefit the other communicators as well because you are trying to put it back on track. All right. Another communicative strategy is what we call topic shifting. Okay. Topic shifting is simply changing the subject in a conversation, moving from one topic to another. So it is basically describing how we were able to sustain long conversations because there are shifts on the topic that we are discussing. We don't just simply talk about one specific topic. We move on from one topic to another, going to another, and so on and so forth. Okay. Now, topic shifting, unlike topic control, it's done without explicitly you announcing the change of topic. And it usually is the way to keep the communication going as what I have mentioned earlier. And of course, make the conversation even more interesting for all parties involved. Okay. So again, let me just differentiate the two. Topic control, it is explicitly done, meaning you say it out loud that why don't we talk about this topic? Why don't we move on from this topic to another? In topic shifting, it follows the natural course of the conversation. You would notice that there are instances wherein you talk with your friends or when you talk to someone, you talk about a particular topic at the beginning of the conversation. And then after some time, you will realize that how did you move on from this topic and to this topic? Okay, without you even realizing that. Okay, that is topic shifting. It follows the natural course of the conversation. So both parties, they are aware of the change, but it's very subtle. Okay, so there's no need for them to announce that, oh, let's just change the topic. Okay, the shift happens naturally. So, for example, when you ask, by the way, have you done your homework in math? For example, if you are just simply talking about school and then suddenly math comes up and then suddenly you just ask, by the way, have you done your homework in math? That's not explicitly saying, now, why don't we just talk about the homework in math? All right. So that's basically the difference between the two. Next up, we have repair. Repair simply refers to the correction by the speaker of a misunderstood utterance. Okay. So repair happens when the speakers address the problems in speaking, listening, and comprehending that they may encounter during a conversation. Okay, so during a communicative situation. So there are instances wherein, as a speaker, we make mistakes, we make errors, okay? And listeners, someone who is listening to us, may of course correct that error in order for the conversation to of course meet its intended goal. We use this strategy because we want to keep the conversation accurate, number one, and of course, to keep it flowing smoothly. According to Hutchley and Wofford in 2008, there are four varieties of repair sequence in a conversation. First one is what we refer to as self-initiated self-repair. The next is other-initiated self-repair. Next is self-initiated other repair. And the other one is other-initiated other repair. So let's take a look at it one at a time. When we say it's a self-initiated self-repair, both are initiated and carried out by the speaker. So the error was committed by the speaker, and the speaker realized that there was an error that was committed. So the speaker already did the correction himself. So after the utterance or after the error has been uttered, the speaker realized that there's something wrong with what I have just said. So immediately the speaker will correct whatever it is he or she is saying. So take for example this one. I did my homework in English. Oh, sorry, I mean math. All right. So that could be a form of self-initiated self-repair. Again, the speaker committed the error and the speaker immediately corrected this error as well. Next, we have other-initiated self-repair. Now, in other-initiated self-repair, the error was realized and brought up by the recipient or the listeners. Okay, and then the repair, the correction of that error is carried out by the speaker. So, in other-initiated self-repair, again, the listener noticed the error, and then the repair was carried out by the speaker. So take for example this situation. The guy is asking, I need to build a laptop for class. And then the listener said, you need to borrow a laptop for class. It's as if she's insinuating that, I'm sorry, I didn't understand what you were saying. Do you mean borrow a laptop for class? And then the guy replies, I need to bring a laptop for class. Okay, so basically he was correcting what is it that was unintelligible for a minute there. All right, next, the third one is self-initiated other repair. So the speaker initiates the receiver to repair the trouble. All right, now in this one, the speaker notices that there was something wrong with whatever he or she was saying, and then the receiver will repair it for him or her, or will correct the error for him or her. So take for example, I need to bring my book, so I need to get another, you cannot find the right words for it. And then the person that you are communicating with says, you mean another bag? And then of course, because that's the correct repair for it, that's right, a bigger bag. Okay, so you are trying to validate the correction that has been made. Last but not the least, we have other initiated, other repair. So in this case, it is the receiver that both initiates and carries out the repair of the trouble or repair of the error that has been committed by the speaker. So take for example this one. Aren't you glad today is Friday? Friday is actually tomorrow, the girl replies. Okay, so the girl noticed that there was an error with what he or she was saying and then corrected it right away for him. Next is termination. If we had nomination at the very beginning of our conversation or communicative situation, termination occurs when it's the very last part of the conversation process or the communicative situation. So basically, in termination, you are simply simply ending the conversation or closing a discussion. It usually refers to the conversation participants' close initiating expressions that end a topic of a conversation. Now, there are certain expressions that, of course, you can use. We categorize it into three. We have pre-closing expressions. For example, it's been nice talking to you. I really enjoyed meeting you. I'm afraid I have to leave now. Thanks for taking the time to talk to us. We also have follow-up expressions, such as the following. I'll give you a call. I'll have my secretary schedule an appointment. How do I get in touch with you? How can I reach or contact you? And there are also closing expressions that we could use. So it's just basically ending it all together. See you next week. Here's my number. Call me if you have any questions. I look forward to seeing you again. Let's keep in touch. So these are closing expressions that you could use. Here are my sources and references for this lecture. Thank you for joining me.